Today I'm going to talk to you about how to stop caring so much about grades. As someone who spent the better part of the last 10 years caring way too much about school and grades, trust me when I say I know it isn't easy. I'm Triya and I'm a junior doctor working in London. I graduated from Oxford Medical School earlier this year. Maybe you clicked on this video because you're the sort of person who worries way too much about exam grades, or you're someone who feels like they work too hard for school and don't have time for much else. Well, whoever you are, I'm here for you, and today I'm going to give you some tips on how to care less about school and grades. Don't get me wrong, academic achievement is important, especially if you're someone who wants to go to a good university or go to medical school, for example. However, what's more important than academic achievement is maintaining good mental health and being a well-rounded person. And by that, I don't mean you have to be grade 8 bassoon, be the lead in the play, and be the captain of the netball team, on top of being good at school. I mean that you have to be the sort of person who enjoys their life outside school, for example with friends, families, interests and hobbies that they enjoy. In a previous video, I talked about how Oxford University fosters an intense academic environment and can sometimes lead to toxic perfectionism, where people strive for really good grades and sacrifice everything else. Now, this isn't a sustainable lifestyle, and attaching your grades to your self-worth will only end up hurting you. Okay, so now let's get into some tips on how to detach your grades from your self-worth and how to start caring a little bit less about school and grades. Tip number 1 is that it helps to realise what you're working towards. When you're in school or university, endless homework assignments, exams, pop quizzes can just seem very repetitive and soul-crushing. So it really helps to try to figure out what your goals are and what your purpose for being in school or university is. For example, maybe you really want to get into medical school, or you've got a specific university in mind, such as Oxford or Cambridge. And in order to achieve that goal, you have to do a certain number of things. For example, achieve a certain level of grades or pass admission tests. If you have a clear goal in mind, then this can help you to focus yourself during school and also remember why you're there. It can make mundane things like homework have a bit more significance, and it can give you a sense of purpose. My advice is to write these goals down, stick them up somewhere you can see them, or put them on your phone so that you can always remember why you're there. For example, if you're in year 12 or year 13 in England and you're doing A-levels, the main reason you're doing these A-levels is so that you can go to university. So don't forget that. So tip 2 is to work smart and not hard. Set yourself realistic goals when it comes to studying. Let's say you have a history test in 2 weeks, but before that you have a dance recital, you have to submit an English essay and do a French presentation. So you know that realistically for this test you can't spend 50 hours revising. Take a look at the commitments in your calendar and work around those to see how many hours realistically you can work. And remember, because you're planning in advance, you don't have to then cram or stay up all night the night before the exam. Maybe you've done all this and you realise that you can only spend 8 hours revising for this history exam in the next 2 weeks. This may not seem like a lot, but if you've committed to this, then you can promise yourself that you will spend those 8 hours working really efficiently. So when you're sitting at your desk, you're not going to procrastinate or watch Netflix, and you're actually going to focus well. Now you can do this using a number of methods. For example, one I personally like to use is the Pomodoro technique, where you work in bursts of 25 minutes. So working like this is a really effective way of studying, because then you know that when you come to the exam, you've worked the hardest you realistically could have done. Maybe you could have got in more hours of revision if you'd stayed up all night the night before the exam cramming for the test, but I guarantee you that those hours of revision wouldn't have been as productive because you're panicking, you're stressed and you're not sleeping well. This way, when you come to the exam, you're not burnt out and you can actually continue afterwards and keep going onwards to the next task, because in school, inevitably, you'll have an exam just around the corner. Tip 3 is to recognise when you're getting stressed. We all know that stress isn't good for you, but the sneaky thing is that stress can not only affect your mental health, but your physical health as well. Sometimes your body may give you physical signs to show you that you've reached a critical level of stress before you've even realised it yourself. For example, maybe you're suddenly craving lots of sugary foods, or maybe you've been completely put off food altogether. For me, I find that when I'm really stressed, my eczema flares up. Figure out what the signs are for you and take that as an opportunity to check in with yourself and figure out what's stressing you out. Now, sometimes you can't always eliminate what's stressing you because, for example, you've got an interview for a university coming up or you've got a compulsory exam. But still, when you're feeling this way, take that as an opportunity to take a day off from studying or revising and completely relax. I know when you're really stressed, taking a day off may feel like you're only piling up more work for future you to have to deal with, but I guarantee that the day after you've rested, you'll feel refreshed and ready to go again and to work more efficiently. If you feel like taking a whole day off is too much, then just just take an afternoon off. That can still work wonders. Another thing that I think is really important if you're getting quite stressed is to share that with somebody you care about. This can be your parents, your siblings, your friends, anyone you trust really. And if you're struggling with school, I know it may sound difficult, but I think it's important to tell your teachers as well. Because that way, maybe they can give you some extra help or give you an extension on some deadlines. Now, you may be worried that if you go to a teacher with your problems, they may think less of you because they think you won't be able to cope with the academic demands of school. But I promise you that that isn't true. In fact, they'll probably be impressed that you have the maturity to realise when you're having a problem and to ask for help. And also, being transparent like this sets up really good habits for the future, during university or work, because life is messy and there'll always be other things going on that will pull your focus away from academics. Okay, and my final tip can be a bit of a bitter pill to swallow if you're a perfectionist, and it is to accept that you don't have to be the best at everything. You just don't. I know it can feel really great to be good at school, good at sports, good at drama, good at music and everything else that you do. But when you're achieving all of those things at the expense of your mental health, then it's just not worth it. Do what makes you happy and do what helps you achieve your goals, the ones that you wrote down earlier. One thing I would advise is try to find a hobby that you're bad at but you still enjoy. Accepting that you don't have to be the best at everything is hard, especially if you're a chronic overachiever, but take it day by day and remember that there's more to life than school or grades. So that's all my advice for today. I hope you found this video useful. If you want me to expand on anything I've talked about today, then let me know. Bye!